appear quite uninspiring, and policies have to be conducted amidst a whirlwind of uncertainty. At such critical times, conferences of this nature can help us better understand the evolving scenarios and policy trade-offs, which are not easy in the current times. In my address today, I propose to briefly cover some of my thoughts on South Asia's current macroeconomic challenges and policy priorities. Looking back into history, the South Asian region has been a key hub of ideas. Looking back into history, the South Asian region has been a key hub of ideas. It is one of the youngest regions in the world. The average growth rate in the region has accelerated from 3% in the 1970s to about 7% in the latest decade, that is in the pre-pandemic period. Consequently, per capita income levels have risen alongside notable progress on key development parameters. As per the estimates of the IMF, South Asia contributes nearly 15% to global growth, led by India and Bangladesh. The region also receives 1/5 of total remittance flows in the world. The South Asian region has grown, responding to formidable global challenges in the past. Following the food crisis of the 1960s, with which all of us are familiar, the region successfully implemented the Green Revolution. And that brought about a huge change in this region in terms of achieving self-sufficiency in many parts of this region, and the earlier dependence on imports from other countries was considerably reduced. After the oil shocks of the 1970s, so that was in the 60s, and then subsequently after the oil shocks of the 1970s, immigration from South Asia to West Asia became one of the largest market-driven labor flows. This in turn led to a significant increase in remittance flows into the region. The Asian financial crisis of 1997 impacted the South Asian countries in terms of surges in capital outflows and exchange market pressures. Over the years, as a crisis prevention strategy, the South Asian countries prioritized sound macroeconomic policies and embraced financial sector reforms focusing on competition, prudential regulation, enhanced transparency, audit and accounting standards. These measures helped in preserving macro stability while sustaining integration of domestic economies with the global economy. In recent years, multiple shocks, in particular the COVID-19 pandemic and the war in Ukraine, have dampened the economic prospects of the South Asian region as in other parts of the world. Some of the countries in the region have also been contending with ramifications of unsustainable debt and climate change-induced events. Consequently, they have been seeking recourse to the IMF's financing facilities. Notwithstanding these challenges, as per the World Economic Outlook database of October 22, which was released by the IMF, India, Bangladesh and Maldives would be among the fastest growing economies in the world in 2022 and 2023. According to the Asian Development Bank's December 2022 outlook, the South Asian region's GDP is projected to grow at 6.5% in 2022 and 6.3% in 2023. The World Bank estimates that regional cooperation could be a win-win situation for all countries of the region. For example, intra-regional trade is currently only 1/5 of its potential. That is, intra-regional trade in the South Asian region is only 1/5 of its potential. And also, this implies that the annual shortfall, this has been calculated by the World Bank, this implies the annual shortfall to be in the region of about $44 billion US. The World Bank assessment also suggests that a common electricity market for Bangladesh, Bhutan, India and Nepal can yield savings of about US $17 billion in capital costs. Investment in transport and logistics could also help reduce the cost of container shipments in South Asia. According to a study by the IMF, which was conducted in 2019, on South Asia, more than 150 million people will enter the South Asian labor force by 2030. The dependency ratio is expected to continue ebbing for almost 2 decades, indicating the strong demographic dividend of the dividend the region is set to benefit from. Now, with these positive, with this kind of positive factors, the point is there are critical challenges which I think Antoinette has very rightly, she has captured some of them very quickly, and these are the policy challenges which the entire South Asian region faces. And these challenges, as you know, have been accentuated because of the impact of the COVID-19, the spillovers from the war in Ukraine, the spillovers from globalization of inflation, the spillovers from financial market tightening that's happening all over the world due to almost a synchronized and simultaneous tightening of monetary policies in most of the countries. Now, in these circumstances, I would now like to focus on some of the desirable policy priorities for the South Asian region, and I have identified 6 such policy priorities. The first policy priority for the South Asian region is obviously taming inflation. Multiple external shocks in the form of COVID-related global supply chain disruptions, food and energy crisis following the war in Ukraine, and financial market volatility arising from the aggressive monetary policy tightening have exerted sustained price pressures in the South Asian economies, which is of course felt in other parts of the world also. Now, during the first 3 quarters of 2022, food price inflation in South Asia averaged more than 20%, and that's pretty high. The region's heavy dependence on imported fossil fuels has made it vulnerable to imported fuel inflation. For successful disinflation, credible monetary policy actions accompanied by targeted supply-side interventions, fiscal, trade policy, and administrative measures have become the key instruments. While the recent softening of commodity prices and supply chain bottlenecks should help in lowering inflation going ahead, risks to growth and investment outlook may rise if inflation persists at high levels. Prioritizing price stability may therefore be the optimal policy choice for the South Asian region in the current context. This approach to disinflation, however, needs to be mindful of the rising risks to growth outlook in an environment of deteriorating prospects for global growth and trade activity. The second policy priority that, apart from taming inflation, that I would like to highlight is containing external debt vulnerabilities. Now, the surge in external debt in recent years and associated vulnerabilities have undermined macroeconomic stability in several countries in this region. External debt, which was already elevated in low and middle income countries external debt which was already elevated in low and middle income countries that includes all the South Asian economies in the pre-pandemic period surged to $9.3 trillion in 2021 from 8.2 trillion in 2019, an increase of 1.1 trillion during these 2 years from 2019 to 2021.